Okay, GA, Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia 911 caller here is dispatcher ordering McGriddle during emergency call. Oh, I hate this kind of stuff.
When we show up on Theo Vaughn's podcast because of how bad our system is, I think that's a sign that, hey, we got to fix this.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Sav Social 912 podcast. I'm your host, Missy, and I have Jesse Frame with me, who is the originator of the Humans of Savannah page on Instagram. Are you on any other platforms?
Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, Jesse was kind enough to meet with me to kind of talk about what Humans of Savannah is, like the kind of purpose behind the page. And then also we have some stories to highlight and talk about. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to know just a little bit about you and how you ended up in Savannah.
So COVID hit and I lost my job and I was just like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
What do I want? And so I really thought about it. I was, living in Atlanta, driving in my car to work all the time. And I just wanted to live close to a beach with a dog in a cute little cottage.
Love that.
And so that's what I did. I wanted to move to Savannah because it's 4 hours from Woodstock, which is home. So if anything happens to my family, I could be home in the same day. And I got here and I love it. Truly.
It's nice to have them close by, but not close enough to drop in on you.
Yes.
So how long were you living in Savannah before you decided to start Humans of Savannah?
Actually, I should have said that that's one of the reasons why I chose Savannah.
Okay.
So a couple of people were like, move to Charleston. And I looked at Charleston and it's beautiful, but I was just like, something's calling me to Savannah and the people of Savannah and the humans of Savannah. And so I actually looked and saw if anybody was doing it. And there was one post and I was just like, well, I had already been doing it for a while. So I started Humans of the Atlanta Beltline in 2015 when the Atlanta Beltline was just starting to become kind of popular. And then so that's weird because it's been about 10 years doing this as a hobby. That's one of the reasons. So I just wanted to come here and take my little hobby with me. And just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, well, I admire you a lot to have a full career. That obviously you told me you travel a lot around the world, and to kind of take the time to focus on our community and highlight things is. I admire you a lot for having the bandwidth to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, and you were telling me that you and your family know the originator of Humans of New York. This is a concept based off of that, right?
Absolutely.
Very successful.
Yeah, so my brother, he knew Brandon Stanton growing up because Brandon Stanton was in Marietta. And I remembered, I think I was living in Portland, Oregon, when my brother was like, hey, you should check out Brandon's stuff. I really like it. I think that you would like it. And I was just like, that's great. And then later in life, I'm like, well, somebody needs to do that here. And I'm like, somebody needs to do it. I kept thinking that in Atlanta. And then I was like, oh, shit, it's going to be me.
Yeah. So for people who are watching this podcast who aren't familiar with what Humans of New York is or Humans of Savannah, how would you just kind of high level describe it?
Brandon started it by going around taking photographs of, I think he wanted to do one photo a day for an entire year. And then he started talking to people and then it started having these amazing stories underneath it. And I will never be Brandon. I love him so much. I am not that good, but I just love to do it because somebody told me one time, you are not defined by your job. You are defined by how you spend your free time.
Oh, wow.
And that changed my life because I'm like, well, what am I doing with my free time? The bars are great. The restaurants are great. Going out with the girls is great. But what am I actually doing? And who am I becoming is the better question, I think. So that changed my life. So I get into all these weird creative endeavors. And so that's why I've been doing this still.
That's very impressive. And I like the platform and your method for this because I think Savannah has a lot of character and a lot of stories that kind of don't meet the eyes of tourists and, the locals. So I love that you're kind of giving a voice with your platform or allowing stories to come out. So I admire you a lot for that as well. So if you want, we can move into kind of the story of how you got on my radar and how like your account is kind of like blowing up right now, which is the story about like the local dispatch, right? Or if you want to give like an overview, because you could probably tell it better than me.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to tell it better, but so I was actually at brunch and I just looked through all my Instagram posts before we were talking, and it was back in November. Actually, November
yes. I love that you have
2023.
notes. Perfect.
Yeah. So it was November 2023. And I was having brunch with a couple of friends. And one of the women there, she was just telling me about how her dad was not feeling well. And she tried to call 911. And she was like, nobody picked up the phone. I was
Oh my
like,
God.
what do you mean nobody picked up the phone? And she was like, yeah, nobody picked up the phone. So I had to get my father in his truck and try to take him to the local fire station to take his vitals. And she was like, I had to get him down the steps. I had to bring him there. And it turned out he was okay. And I was just like, that's insane. And then another one of the women at the table was like, girl, you think that's bad? She's like, my mom's friend died from this.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, y'all are kidding, right? Like, this is insane.
Right.
And she's like, no, I'm not kidding. It happened. And I was just like, this is, it was kind of like a dirty secret, I feel like,
Yes.
that needs to be told.
Or something that the city probably buried in some ways. Sorry, city of Savannah. Love you so much, but these are topics that we should talk about. And that's why I'm kind of bringing attention with this platform to spread awareness about it.
And, it's interesting too, because there's the argument that's going on, is it the city or is it the county? Because the county actually owns the 911 center, not the city. Mm-hmm. So it's getting like, I have learned that there's a lot of politics here.
Yes.
And it's been an interesting journey trying to figure out like where the problem lies and what's going on and how are we fixing it? Because you love Savannah, I love Savannah.
Absolutely.
And I want to live here for the rest of my life. So how do we make it better?
Yes.
And, that's kind of the focus. And all these people, though, all these humans of Savannah, some of them have suffered so much. And I hate like having an untold story inside yourself.
Yes.
And these stories need to be told. And it's actually causing like a lot of people to come forward. And I have to say thank you to all my sources. They're incredible. They're coming from like Chatham EMS. Mm-hmm. They're coming from the fire station. They're coming from so they're in it. They see it and they're reaching out to me. And it's an absolute honor to have their trust and to try to convey their story in the right way.
And I think like despite Savannah being a very open-minded, forward-thinking place, it does take a lot of bravery to step forward, especially when it's not like a positive story. But I think that like, once again, I give you a lot of credit for just like using your platform to spread awareness and let people know about this issue, because like it is kind of a life or death thing. Absolutely. And as people who are residents of Savannah, like we pay tax money, we put money into ensuring that these services are working efficiently, and that like if God forbid you need to use them, mm-hmm. someone's on the other end picking up that phone call, because like, my heart feels heavy for the people who have gone through this and have not had someone answer. And it's crazy that like that you found out about this in November, we're filming this in June, and we're still not finding a solution per se. Or you may know more about solutions offered, but
Well, actually, that's a great point. I actually don't know the solutions. And I've reached out to, I don't know if they're called like the councilmen or not the alder.
The city council.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. And I was just like, hey, I have these sources. I would love to like present like the issues that I feel like I've been hearing. Would you like to talk? And I never heard back from them. And I tried calling them. And then it was just like, okay, well, what do I do? Because I actually love posting like uplifting stories and interviewing children and talking about like love lives.
Yeah, and like how this city offers us good things and we thrive. And, but also being an emergency, it's the city's obligation to respond. Whether it's the city or the county, someone from that side of the board needs to be able to like take accountability for this and maybe just, help us understand how a solution can be made. Right. And the point of this podcast is to not be controversial. It's not to like call anybody to the carpet, but I think that like you have landed on a very, important story, that there's like a weak link in the system somehow. And really, I think you're just asking how somebody can offer a solution to change, because if anybody's going through an emergency, it's like their obligation to answer.
Absolutely.
And, you know, you shouldn't be panicking and putting someone who's like injured or going through a heart attack or something in your own personal car to a fire station because that's the closest EMS. You know, that's putting a lot of responsibility on the other person. And what if someone's going through an emergency and no one's there?
Absolutely.
You know?
It's like, you know, and people have said that. And there is a case right now. I've spoken with somebody where a man was trying to call 911 and he died. And I cannot imagine being on the phone trying to get a hold of 911 for God only knows how long. And sometimes I've been told it's been as long as 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
And when you have an emergency and you're waiting for somebody to pick up the phone, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die.
It's precious time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Every second counts. So it's like, well, how are we making that better? Why is that happening? And there's so many different issues that I've come across. You know, the 911 center doesn't have enough people. I think one meeting that they said they had 4 people for the entire city of Savannah fielding calls at one time.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and this is all allegedly, right? Well, that actually was a fact, but I've had sources in there tell me that, you know, there's multiple problems. There's software problems. They spent, I think, like $7 million on software and it wasn't mapping the addresses correctly.
Oh, wow.
So there's like 2,200 addresses that were just not mapped correctly. So like when people were, you know, if there was an emergency, they wouldn't know where to go. That's a problem.
Yes. And this is a problem where we're seeing the issue at a loss, if that makes sense. And like, once again, I admire you so much for taking the time to like utilize your platform to spread awareness about this. And so like a reason why I also invited you on the podcast is because this is starting to get like national news. Obviously, your clip was picked up on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Well, Theo Vaughn shared the clip of one of our 911 operators ordering something from McDonald's during a 911 call.
Wow.
I mean, how bad does it have to be to get like picked up by some, you know, I mean, it's just.
Well, it's wild that like a comedic podcast just happened to pick up that story, but also it's like validating the fact that like this is something that should be brought to attention because nobody is stepping up to fix it, or at least that we know about. Well,
I think there's been, I mean, the Humans of Savannah, it's amazing because I've been getting messages and like share this story and, you know, and I've connected people. So like the news reporters are like, hey, do you have a story? Can you share it with us? And we'll go out there and I know people, you know, not that I know them, but they're coming to me and they're saying, I just experienced this. Oh my gosh. Now I can say like, I haven't heard a lot for a little while now.
Yes.
So, I mean, since starting in November 2023, so I'm like, okay, is it getting better? Is it not getting better?
So this wasn't even last November. This was 2 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I've been trying for like 2 years and then I'm like, you know, I won't give up because I don't give up, which is probably one of my downfalls in some ways. But I just like, and there's other issues that I want to address too, but I want to just focus on this because I don't want it to cloud it too much.
Of course.
But I mean, like, how long do things need to keep continuing for actual change to happen?
Right. And I think the question here isn't about, like, once again, it's not about who's accountable for the issue, but it's more like, who do we go to even create a solution for this? Because it sounds a lot more like underfunding, being shorthanded. I know like things on a government level are definitely kind of strained, right? You know, a lot of things are being like defunded or pushed back. So like with the resources that we have, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen and like keep our city safe?
Well, you know? It's interesting that you should say that because one of my sources just sent me the Savannah News article. I think it's Savannah News. Let me check.
Yeah, please check. I love that you actually have notes and resources.
Yeah. So the Savannah Morning News, May 24th, there's a $78.8 million contract that we just awarded to somebody to build a new Chatham County Emergency Response Center, 911 services, and offices for Chatham Emergency Management. However, when I read that, and I read the article, it didn't address any of the problems that I've been hearing. It's like, okay, we're going to throw money at this. And it's just like, okay, well, who's going to manage it? You know, are we bringing in somebody from outside of Savannah? Because, you know, let's be honest, it's not really working for us right now.
Right.
And I don't know, honestly, and I'm a very respectful person, but I don't understand how some people still have their jobs.
Yes.
I don't get it.
Yes. And that's probably a part of the system we're never going to understand.
Yes.
Or, you know, like the inner politics of Savannah
Gosh.
seems like a very muddy place. Love you all the representatives that I've spoken to from that side. Once again, this is not like to bash anybody, but I think it's like this is a very complicated issue. And I don't think there's a linear, like formulaic. There's no like formula.
We're going to go with that.
There's no formula for how to fix this. And I don't think any, like I would just love to hear who has ideas and solutions. It sounds like the city is actually trying to throw money at this problem, bringing in a contractor. But at the same time, are we in the past 2 years actually seeing improvements from the problem?
And yeah, that's a perfect question, because I think this past Christmas, I was just like, I don't know the answers to these questions, and I don't know the improvements, and I'm asking them, and you know, I'm not getting answers. So I don't know if our city is getting, or Humans of Savannah are getting answers.
Yeah.
But
and like, is this even on anyone's radar?
I think it is, because I heard, you know, from some insiders that it's like management is reading my posts, and you know, people in positions are being addressed. It is, you know, I think it's lighting a fire under some people.
Yes.
However, like, but it is amazing too, because I've also become aware of like some situations, like we don't have real-time tracking. Like for Uber, we know exactly where the car is when they're going to pick us up. When we call 911, we don't have that with our own ambulances, with our own police officers. And it's actually caused people to be in positions of like really intense situations.
Yeah.
Where they're like,
It's traumatic.
Yeah, and they're like, if I call, are they even going to show up on time? Like, is this worth a phone call, or should I just throw my friend in the car and take them?
Yes.
And for a while, some people were quoted as saying, like, if there's an emergency, I'm just driving myself, or I'm just going to go myself, which creates a whole other set of problems.
Yeah, and it's a huge liability. Like I know that Uber released a story like many years ago about how like emergency services, like to take an ambulance, the bill is so expensive, especially if you don't have good insurance, that like people are resorting to ordering Ubers to be taken to the hospital. And like if something happens while the Uber driver is taking them there, that holds Uber and the driver liable when they didn't sign up to be in emergency transport. But I'd rather pay, you know, $50 to go from here to like the nearest hospital than pay a $2,000 bill to ride in an ambulance to go to the same place. And not even be sure, at least you know that Uber is going to show up, not even be sure that the ambulance is going to be there or that someone's going to answer to schedule it. That's
a very good point. And yeah, like with there's a lot of people that are asking about Chatham EMS and how are they getting paid and how are they like being awarded contracts, because I know that one was being looked at for a couple zones and then it was just silently given to them.
Right.
And so people want to know, like, where are our tax dollars going? And is this really helping us? But like, it would be interesting if Uber came out with an emergency services ambulance. I think, did you just come up with
Uber, if you would like to take the patent for that idea, come talk to me. No, I agree. And I feel like I know a lot of like young people who are working for like the local EMS, and that is a very heavy job. Like I know somebody who's like, I think she's 19 or 20, and, you know, working as an EMS worker and going to calls where someone's died and they need to go and assess the situation. And I'm like, that is so like, you don't want to be making, not to say they make minimum wage, but
kind of,
but you know,
actually,
that is a very heavy part of the job. And I'm sure that, you know, I feel like this is probably a scenario where like everyone who's boots on the ground with this are working as hard as they can to like make do with what they have. But I'd love for this conversation that we're having and you spreading awareness to the issue to like help those resources. Or, it sounds like they're doing the best they can, but it's not enough where like this is becoming life or death scenarios.
Yeah. And that brings up another point. Because there's on the ambulances, or they call them trucks, there's a medic and an EMT.
Right.
We're short on medics in Savannah. We need more medics.
Do you know like the difference if somebody's like not familiar with the language?
I'll try. Okay. I think one can administer IVs, like the medic can, and start doing all that. And then the EMT can only give like aspirin and give them oxygen. Right. So there was another case here in Savannah where there was this beautiful woman and she was having an asthma attack. And and I don't know all the details, but from what I was told from her friends, an ambulance showed up, and I don't believe ambulances carry inhalers.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if the EMT could give her one. So she died.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
From asthma.
And this just happened again in another city with a young man. He died because the cost of inhalers are like so expensive, so he didn't have it, and then he needed help. And I don't know if like the ambulance showed up and didn't have it or whatever. But there's certain things that medics and EMTs can do. But there is a shortage. And also I just heard recently from one of my sources is that Chatham EMS was just awarded the oncology trips to transport patients from like one hospital to another. And they're worried because we have certain ambulances that, basic life support and all this kind of stuff, but are like first response teams that need to be out in the field, they're worried that it might tie some of them up. So they're like, if I'm making this run, how am I supposed to get to like a true emergency? Yeah. So there's some concerns there. And so it's a tricky situation.
I mean, once again, I would hate to be the person in the driver's seat trying to like find the best way to utilize our systems and services. But at the same time, I'm very grateful that you were brave enough. Brave isn't even the right word, but like, being able to step forward and say something, and at least like, there's obviously a room full of voices with different stories behind this issue, but you're able to at least like funnel that into hey, everybody, there's an issue going on and we need to think together to find a solution. Thanks. There's no right way to do it, but I think that what I would love to see the outcome of like you coming on and talking on the show is just to like figure out what resources through whoever watches this podcast can like step forward and maybe try to help, so I'm not sure if we can have like a follow-up interview sometime with the city, not to like grill anybody, but just to see like where they're at with all of this, because I think the only way we're going to land on any sort of solution is by continuing to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And this is definitely like a more serious episode for Sav Social 912, but it feels right and purposeful to use this platform for that. And once again, I'm grateful that you're using your platform to bring voices and, tell the stories behind what's going on in Savannah. Because there's a very like picturesque, like touristy version of Savannah. And then if you actually live here, and if you live here for long enough, you start to see kind of like there's a few chinks in the armor, if that makes sense. If that's the right way to say that.
Yeah, and we all love it here. And we all want to be here. And so it's like, well, how do we get better? But like, this is such an issue that I'm thinking about, gosh, do I want to live here when I'm 70? Yes. And I need to call the hospital or the ambulance like really quickly? But I have to go back and talk about the paramedics real quick. Yeah. Because I've spoken with several of them and, people in the fire department, and they are amazing. And they are not paid fairly, in my opinion. So when I just heard that, we're awarding $78.8 million to build a new center, it's like, well, gosh, could that money have gone to them? Right. Could that money have gone to, hiring different management to come in? Right. And,
like is starting from scratch really the best move right now? Because I think it's more like we just need improvements and more bandwidth or, more people able to take those shifts and help rather than like rebuild a whole system. But also, if anybody from that side wants to come on and give your side of things as to like justifying why that decision was made, like please hit me up, because being able to get all of the information from both sides so that people can like stay informed, I think is the best thing. But I agree. I think that a lot of the time our city is very lucky that we get people in certain like service positions that are just like very passionate. They're passionate about the community. They're passionate about Savannah, and they'll, you know, work themselves into the ground to keep things going. But is that really the way that we want our city to be run? You know, we can't just have like blind faith that people love Savannah so much they're going to work for minimum wage to save lives, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know that at Chatham EMS, I know a few of the chiefs there, not personally, but I've heard of them. And if there's like a shortage in staff, they get on the trucks with them. They go out, they roll up their sleeves, they're in it with them. I have not heard the same thing for a 911 center. So if there's a shortage of staff, they're in their offices. They don't jump on the phones. They don't help. That's what I've been told.
Right.
So like, I appreciate somebody who like sees a situation and is like, okay, this is wrong. I got to help. How do I help? And I think it's going on in some places. I don't think it's going on everywhere.
Right.
And I think, you know, this is starting to kind of expose people, which is not comfortable.
Yeah. And I don't think that it needs to be that way. Or, you know, I think the approach that you're doing is perfect. Just kind of like advocating for the people, saying the facts, and like the people who have come to you like as your sources, speaking like those stories and letting people know. But I don't think this is like, we need to call someone to the carpet to be accountable for why this isn't working. I think it's more just like, how can we as a community come together, you know, we're all taxpayers and whatnot. Like, how can we come together and find a solution? Yeah. Or us just demanding a solution. Demand's a strong word. But
I mean, I would love to demand a solution, but I don't have that much power.
Yes.
If you know anybody who does.
Yeah, but I think that this is an important issue, and it affects everybody who's living in our city, that you're doing the right thing, continuing the conversation and spreading awareness so that it doesn't fade away.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Because I won't stop. And I won't stop because I keep hearing stories. And I wonder how many people have died from this. I wonder, and they just didn't know.
Yeah. And, you know, big thank you to Theo Got and David Spade for, you know,
shout out to
bringing
them.
this to the next level of awareness. And, you know, what are the odds that that would happen? But at the same time, I think it's really helped you just get the issue in front of more people.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when we show up on Theo Vaughn's podcast because of how bad our system is, I think that's a sign that, hey, we got to fix this.
Yeah, that's the wake-up call.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I know that things take time. So, for instance, I know that I think there was a photo of a couple of people in charge breaking ground on like a new 911 center over a year ago. Mm-hmm. It was never awarded. So I'm happy to learn just now that it has been awarded. So that's, I know that things take time and there's politics and there's money involved, but I just want to make sure that the solutions that they are coming up with are actually solutions that are going to help. And it's just not, oh yeah, we gave money to it. We did the best that we could. And it's like, that's not going to solve it.
Yeah, that's not good enough. And I think that like, if this was an issue where people weren't, like their lives weren't at stake, then like, sure, it's easy to kind of like brush that away. But I think that this is a point where as like public facing people in the media, I know we're not like big influencers, but at the same time, I think we have to like, you know, stand firm with keeping the story in the headlines, making sure that people in our community are aware. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we should stop until we feel satisfied with a solution, you know, and I hope that the people who have lost family members and loved ones also reach that point. You know, it's never going to bring them back, but I think if anything, it'll just prevent that from happening to people in the future.
Absolutely. And it's amazing to me, like how long ago some of these stories first started coming out.
Yes.
So if you Google like Chatham County 911, there's several stories there. And it's just like, oh my gosh, how long has this been happening? And I've spoken like I was invited into this one man's home, and he was telling me about his wife who passed away. And he was just like, yeah, I called 911, and it took about 10, 15 minutes for them to pick up, and as if it was normal.
Right.
Like, that's not normal. And I don't think if you've lived in Savannah your whole life, which this man has, if that's your normal, that's scary.
That is scary. And if we as members of the Savannah community, if it's going to take more than 10 minutes to get someone to come and respond to an emergency, we also need to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way to schedule or factor time when you're in an emergency situation. But if it's going to take at least 30 minutes to get an ambulance there, you'll act even quicker.
Yeah.
And nobody should be put in that position. But if this is this reality that we're dealing with, at least now people can know if you're in a scenario where you need an ambulance, make sure you call as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Don't just wait 10 minutes to see if the person's going to get better,
Yeah.
all that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like rolling the dice.
Yes.
Hey, are they going to, but again.
But we shouldn't be gambling with emergency services.
Oh my gosh, right?
It should be something that should be,
a basic,
efficient and set in stone, and a resource that should ease an emergency and not make you even more stressed. So this all sounds very traumatic. I really.
Oh my gosh. And this is just us talking about it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine actually going through it or being a family member of somebody who went through it or a friend. And I mean, there's just so much suffering around it. And
it must be heavy to even interview and hear these stories. I know we're not going into detail about it, but you know.
They're posted. So, I mean, you can scroll back if you want on Instagram and check out some of these stories because, but yeah, when men are crying in front of you, I mean, it's an honor to hold that space.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart. So it's heavy work to do. And I'm doing this as a hobby. I wanted to go out and interview children.
Yeah.
And now it's oh my gosh, it's breaking my heart, but I feel called to do it.
Yes.
And so, I'm not going to stop doing it, but the stories out there, and my God, these poor people.
Yes.
And I know that the city, I think it was Jay Medler. I like him. I've read about him. I've never met him. I like what he says, and I trust that it sounds like he's got his stuff together. He spoke out about it in one sentence, and he said, it is the thing that Savannah needs to focus most attention on. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what the city can say, because it's a county issue, and I don't know if they can get in trouble. Yeah. So it was very politically stated, but the point got across. But it was a classy way of saying get it together.
Yes.
And so I think people are outspoken about it, but people their hands are tied of how can I speak about this?
Yes. And I think navigating the system with the city is always a touchy thing, mm-hmm. because you don't want to rock the boat too much, because there can be backlash on you and as an individual in the city. It can always be really intimidating to bring hot topics to the city. But at the same time, I think that pressure needs to be put on that side to get an outcome that, is efficient for everybody. So, this is a touchy subject, but I feel we're conducting it in a way that's not controversial or, demeaning. But I think that once again, there's a lot of purpose behind the story that you've kind of brought to everybody's attention, and we should continue to see where progress goes. I'd love to have you back on just to get updates, and I hope that anybody who's watching this, I hope that you feel more informed about this issue that's going on, and know that if you're in an emergency, give yourself a little bit more time if you can. But also, it's our duty as individuals in this community to advocate for change. Make sure that you stay informed, make sure that you go to the city council meetings. If we kind of all come forward and stand together, that's a quicker way to get a solution.
Yeah. And I wish those meetings would happen outside of work hours.
Yes.
So if we can do that would be great too.
Yes.
Because I'm guilty of not going, and I'll have to watch the the video of it.
The seminar.
But, what you just said about the risk of bringing it out. And it is scary because my dad was like, Jesse, what do you get out of this? Because you could become like a target.
A target, for sure.
And I was just like, well, I can sleep better at night. If somebody's life is saved, and I'll never know if I'll have any impact like that, but it's the purpose of like, I know there's a problem, and if I don't say anything about it, then I'm part of the problem too.
Yes. And this is a problem that I feel like nobody should be punished for spreading awareness about it or wanting a solution, so I, hope once again, this just helps like reinforce the path that you're on and advocating for the people of the city. But also I hope it makes the city understand that like, there's not going to be a mob with like pitchforks and torches, coming to a city council meeting to get change from this. But I think it's just kind of like everybody is aware of it now.
Yeah.
And what can we do to work together so that all parties are satisfied and so people feel safe in the city, especially in moments of an emergency.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of mind-blowing too. I was told that there used to be an ambulance downtown in the downtown area for 24 hours, all times, and that ambulance was removed. So we don't even have an ambulance dedicated downtown for 24 hours, which I would think that a lot of our tourists, a lot of our guests are right on this strip right here.
Yes, a lot of our local drinkers on the strip, they're prone to accidents, and I will say one thing too, I feel like the healthcare situation in Georgia is also very difficult. A lot of people don't have insurance. A lot of people can't afford healthcare. So they lean on these emergency services. Like they aren't going to the doctor for certain stuff like their asthma, but when they don't have an inhaler, they're calling 911. City of Savannah, how can we fix this? What can we do to all work together just so people feel safe in the city?
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants. And it has been amazing too to see like all different types of people coming out. And it's been interesting to me because like I know when new people are added to my Instagram account, and I see like different types of people being added, and then movement starts happening.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some change makers in Savannah who have power, who have a voice. And I just want to thank everybody for getting involved because every time you share a story, I'm happy to share it. So it's everybody coming together, which, today, like with our politics, not to get into politics, but, it's very divisive. And polarizing. You're here or you're there, usually.
Yeah.
This is a situation where everybody should be coming together and like feeling that and seeing that in action is really kind of neat.
Definitely.
Because we're not seeing it in a lot of other places,
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's come out and have shared your story with me and invited me into your homes and trusted me as, like not exposing your name.
Yes.
And we're just all trying to make Savannah a little bit better. So.
Absolutely. And so if this story resonates with you, I would really encourage you to get involved with our community in the city affairs, go to the city council meetings, follow the Humans of Savannah page, because I think if we work together and just continue the conversation, it will lead to at least a solution or at least an improvement from where we are now.
Yeah. And I think, from what I understand, because I rely on people coming to me with stories. So I haven't had a story in a while, except for like the recent, oncology thing, which happened like just yesterday when I put it out there, like, hey, do you have any issues? So I don't know the status. I don't know if it's getting better. But please keep coming to me with your stories, and I'm happy to share them in an effort to make things better.
Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Sav Social 912 podcast. Once again, please follow Humans of Savannah, humans_of_Savannah. And Jesse Frame, thank you so much again for talking with us. And if there's anything you want to say before we totally sign off?
Just thank you to everybody. It's such a wonderful experience. I mean, I know this was pretty heavy, but I love going out and I love meeting different types of humans of Savannah. I am still working on my book too.
Great.
So I want to get back to that. I'll be in town July and August, and then I'll have to like start picking up again. So if you are interested and
Have a story to share.
yeah,
I love that.
I'm still working on it, so I haven't forgotten about it. I'm working on that, and I've got some pretty neat things going on with my artwork. So you might be seeing something soon with that. So I'm just kind of all over the place. So thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for just being a part of this crazy story that's been unfolding.
You know, Jesse, I feel like our community is very lucky to have you. I know you moved here just a few years ago, but this is something that I think really makes a difference. So, yes,
gosh,
very proud
thank
of
you so much,
Yes,
Missy.
Keep up with it. And you stay social, Savannah. Bye.
Bye.